we know Joseph and Eddie are supposed to be here later, so.
Yeah, they said they
we
would
don't
be
know
here
how
by
late,
the
so.
regular meeting. All right, the first item is rezoning 1389. This is at 1201 Moulton Street West, looking to go from B1 to B2. The comments from the zoning committee on this, the zoning committee was not in favor at the time. Concerns were expressed about the compatibility with surrounding residential neighborhood and other uses that could be allowed if the property were sold to someone else. Not necessarily a problem with what's being proposed, but just kind of in general what B2 opens up the rest of the zoning allowances for that. The applicant was advised to talk to members of the neighborhood and see if he could gather support for the meeting, that would be important on his side.
Francis, you got anything you want to comment on any of this now?
I do.
Okay.
Changing it from B1 to B2, it to be a negative impact on the neighborhood. We just had one a couple of years ago, a year or so. We changed it simply for the fact that butts up right to the neighborhood on both sides of Moulton Street. And the possibility of what can go in there is what I'm concerned about. And I'm also concerned about what they want to do there also, because we have two churches in a block, within a block of this location. So it's just a negative impact on the community. And I just do not think it would be a good idea to change the zoning.
Are there any other questions on this one, or?
Did you have any more interaction with the applicant after you advised them?
He stopped by the office once, and then as far as comments from the community, we really haven't received any on this one. We expect there might be some that show up to the meeting, but we're not sure.
Okay.
And like Francis said, I think it was a couple of years ago, we had another one just in the next block up, very similar, wanted to do B2,
Yeah.
and we declined that one.
It was really across the street.
Was it across the street?
It's
Okay,
across the
straight
street.
across the street, okay.
And also, let me make this comment. Whether people are here for it or against it, that's fine, that's their privilege. But,
Hey, ma'am, can you speak up? It's a lot of
excuse me,
noise. There's a lot of noise out here, we can't hear you.
okay,
Well, yeah,
as a
yeah. Let me explain to everybody, this part of the meeting is not a public hearing. We want you to hear Bain, but this is not a public hearing. This is our pre-meeting. The public hearing starts at 3:30.
But this is.
But I agree, I understand that. It's just not the hearing,
I know,
so.
but we couldn't even, I couldn't hear
I
because.
I understand, Bain, and I just wanted to explain to everybody else to know that there wouldn't be any questions at this point. We do want you to be able to hear. Okay.
lost my train of thought. My point is, whether we have people to come for or against it, either way, most people do not understand what allowed in B2. So I think that needs to be explained also. You know, and like I said, the guys, great guys, have no problem with it. But that is just not conducive to a neighborhood.
Anybody got any questions or follow-up comments on that? Okay.
All right, the next one is rezoning 1390. This is at approximately 4000 Spring Avenue. This is on the south end, just south of the Catholic Church there. They are currently zoned Ag 1, looking to go R5, patio homes. And the zoning committee was in favor of this request.
I can't help but notice that it's a private drive. How are they going to access?
The property itself, both parcels touch Spring Avenue, but there is also a private drive out there. I believe the name of it is Steenson Private Drive. It's actually on this property, and so it would have to be addressed somehow when we get a plat.
Both parcels touch Spring Avenue?
They do. There's so the easternmost parcel has a little axe handle.
Oh, okay.
And that Steenson Drive, the Steenson Private Drive is actually in that little axe handle. It's hard to see from the map because of the label that,
There was something there 'cause it moved-
yeah,
moved before.
that label that popped up on top of it kind of hides it, but there is a little axe handle there that goes out. Mhm.
And in the handout, there's a couple of comments on this one from people that won't be here. Any questions?
I have a question, and it's more of an engineering type question, but in these comments, as well as in the meeting last month, a lot of people raised concerns about drainage. They say, oh, you know, my yard floods and da-da-da-da-da. But my question is it possible that a new development could alleviate some of those drainage problems?
It is possible, and on one of the ones later today, that is the issue that probably will, and I've asked the city engineer to talk to us about that.
Okay, because I
That is a
keep
lot.
thinking, you know, if the developer may have to put in a retention pond or
Right.
whatever they
Right.
are doing as part of the development might alleviate the drainage and not necessarily make it worse.
Could make it better.
It could make it better, okay. Okay.
Would-
Yeah, with the development, with the construction plan, we would require detention, and the general consensus is they're not supposed to allow any more runoff after development than leaving the site before the development. It doesn't mean that it'll solve anything, but it won't make it any worse.
Okay,
And sometimes it does make it better, because sometimes they'll over-design it to where it'll actually be less water leaving the site than was before. But again, it's just that the same water leaving the site before it's developed will be that coming after it's developed.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And a lot of times, there's actually more water, but spread out over an extended period of time with the retainage. Which, of course, these are both zonings, and those are issues that would take up in a site,
In a site
in a
plan.
subdivision plan, but still, it's something we want to look at today.
Okay.
Okay?
The next one is rezoning 1391. This is 2705 Modus Road. Looking to take just shy of 81 acres, currently zoned Ag 1, looking to go to an R5 and an R6 zoning. So if you'll notice on the map for this one, the larger portion of it is R5, and there'll be a little shaded box in the middle you'll see that's gonna be looking for an R6 townhome zoning.
Is that the one on the side and the one here?
It'll be on so the R6 will be kind of on the south side of the property.
Turn a few more pages and you'll
If
see.
you'll turn one more page, yeah. So you'll see on that map, so you'll see
Okay.
the two different zones being asked for on this one. And the zoning committee was in favor of this request as well.
You know, traffic's gonna be an issue on this one. Which Lee's gonna sort of try to update us on some of that, where we are, but, you know, we all know what notice is, and
Yeah.
looking for lane notice.
So, do we know timing of those?
We don't, but this week, what I can say is that the council president has asked the mayor to get the staff to start the process of
Yeah.
addressing those issues out there, so.
And do we have data from the most recent traffic study out there?
So the last counts that were done were in 2020. That's still the most recently available ALDOT provided counts. Down by the school, you had just north of 9,000 vehicles a day, and then closer to the Danville Road intersection, up where it is currently 5-laned, you have just shy of 13,000 vehicles a day.
So what's the load on the road, you think, percentage-wise?
Capacity on the 2-lane section where it's 9,000 is 16,600 a day.
About 50%.
So you're around just north of 50% capacity in that section. The 5-lane section is what, 23? No, it's more than that. It's 27 or 28,000, I believe. I think, yeah, like 28,000 roughly is the capacity on that 5-lane section down there, and we're right at 13,000 vehicles in that section.
That's about 42, something like that.
Yeah, so last meeting where this came up in the public hearing, some comments were made about not just taking those daily averages for what they are on paper and taking into account rush hour, peak loading. Do we have that level of granularity on the data that we have?
Not here. We would have to go do counts again, because those ALDOT counts don't do that. But what I can say is we don't typically, when we're looking at widening projects, it's a bad metric to use peak hour, because if you use peak hour to base your widening decisions, every road would be 6 or 8 lanes wide.
Yeah.
And then you have more problems out there than what you have now. So you have to balance it out somehow, and that's just the standard for, making your widening decisions, is that average daily count.
Sure.
Or any kind of rule of thumb or anything that you look at?
I mean, typically, there's a grading system that's kind of the standard for when you're looking at capacity of roadways. It runs A through E, and once you get it runs A through F. And once you get in the D, E, F range of grading, that's typically around 70 to 75% capacity. That's when you start seeing issues and start needing to address with a widening project. If you want to add anything to that.
And if it helps anybody, I have been asked by the mayor to start looking into proposals for widening Motus Road to do improvements. Just because, and I'll say this, and y'all know this, just because this gets rezoned and they can't put this many houses based on the market, if they sold 50, if it's 500 houses, if it took 50 a year, that's 10 years worth. So you're not gonna get all this at one time. So we have some time to work through, get some plans together. And like Lee was saying, a lot of the grading and a lot of your congestion is not just the road and the straightaways, it's where your intersections are. Where you put traffic signals every time you make a car stop, you cause congestion, you cause issues and backups. That's why we don't want a traffic light at every intersection. Because the more you can just let them travel through, the capacity of that 2-lane road is much bigger, much greater. So,
And I'm sure everybody feels the same as I do on this. When we look at rezoning or adding rooftops, we want to make sure that there's a plan for the road too.
and we're working towards that plan to let you know, we are working that way. So if that helps your feelings any.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, the next one is Foxwood Subdivision Phase 3 preliminary plat. This is Arapahoe Trail, Kiowa Trail. The R3 rezoning on this one was just completed recently, and then the layout plat was presented last month. So this would be the preliminary phase. And upon approval of this one, of course, that's when you can start doing your public improvements, roads, and all of your utilities can start going in.
only thing I wanna bring up here to make sure that the whole commission is aware, you know, when we first rezoned this, there was a comment that we were in violation with the state fire code. And that's not correct. That was something that was, the fire code suggested it, but it's not something that the state or the city adopted. So we're not in violation of that code.
And this phase is, I think, 35 lots is what they're looking like on this one. And there's been a lot of questions on drainage in particular on this one. The members of the public that show up for this one today will probably likely be talking a lot about the drainage. They will be doing a detention pond on this one. There's quite a bit of fall from front to back. They're putting in a lot of ditches, a lot of piping to catch all that water and get it over to the detention basin that's going to be constructed as part of this.
And I'm sure McAnally will speak to that, but I also want Carl to speak to it from the city side as well.
And on the previous step on this one, I had recused, and so I'll be consistent with that.
Okay.
And so if you would just cue me at the right time, somebody, I'll step down, I guess.
Well, you're usually sitting here to cue me, so you're not here.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask for help today.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be the go-between.
Are there any other questions or concerns on this one?
Well, I will bring up something else that we talked about in TRC as far as access to the property to the west at some point, in maybe not in this plan, but either in this one or in the next one.
And that has been passed along to the developer, and so we'll work with them on that.
Okay. So I just want us to make sure we bring that up in the hearing as well.
Okay. All right, the next item, certificate 3570. This is the Champion car dealership down on 31. The only conditions on this, we need the recording fees, and DU needs the gas service along Unit 1 located, and they need a 5-foot easement if that gas line encroaches onto the property. This is basically just cleaning up the lot lines for an item later in the agenda, which is a site plan for their new building that they're going to be constructing.
And this is part of what we recommended to annex last month.
All right, the next one, certificate 3571. This is on Johnston Street downtown. This is for the Alabama Center for the Arts, the dorm project they're doing downtown. And this is just to consolidate their two parcels into one so that they can, again, we've got a site plan for this later in the agenda as well. Recording fees are needed on this one, and then we also need copies of both of the deeds showing the common ownership, which one of them was just recently sold to them by DU, so we're close on getting that deed.
But that transaction has happened.
The transaction has happened, yes. All right, the next is certificate 3572. This is on Hempstead Avenue, and it's to take one parcel of just shy of an acre into two parcels. We need a signed sealed survey on this one, signed owner letter, and recording fees.
So just taking, I think this is what was tennis courts and everything.
Yeah, on this one, yeah, it's a HOA property with some tennis courts on it that are underutilized to, so the HOA has decided to sell this piece to the developer of the rest of the subdivision, and pending a rezoning application on this to go to R50, it'll be divided further into 3 lots. They just needed to go ahead and do this so that they could sell the property and start that process. All right, the next one is site plan 631. This is the Champion dealership, so we had the consolidation, or the changing of those lot lines earlier, and then this will be the site plan for it. On that, we'll need a landscaping plan and a lighting plan. They'll need to sign our ALDOT affidavit since they are along ALDOT right-of-way. They need to show their proposed building square footage, and we also need their parking calculation, and then this will be per engineering approval before we give the final sign-off.
Any questions on any of that?
All right, the next one, site plan 632. This is the dorm site plan on Johnston Street. Conditions on this one: approval of that certificate to consolidate. Engineering will need to sign off, and then DU is going to need an easement for where they're going to place their transformer to serve the property.
But they're still working that out, right?
Yes. Yes. The next one, site plan 633. This is 2127 6th Avenue Southeast. This is the corner of Knight Street, just across from where the new Watercress car wash went in. A 3-unit kind of small shopping center going in on that corner. We need the parking calculation, again, a signed ALDOT affidavit since it's on Highway 31 right-of-way. DU is going to need 5-foot easements along 6th Avenue and Knight Street, and this one will be per engineering approval as well. A couple of points of information on this one. The certificate of occupancy will be held until frontage landscaping is installed. And then also this development will need to meet DU's grease interceptor requirements, and the developer is working with DU on that. All right, the next one is site plan 634. This is, this one came through a month or so ago, and since that approval was given, they came back with some what were deemed significant changes to that approved site plan. They're rotating the building and changing it slightly. They're also removing one of the accesses that was approved in the last site plan. So because of that, it needed to come back through for approval one more time. And this one will just need engineering approval before final sign-off.
What did they change? The access?
They, in the last one that was approved, they had an access to Central and then an access to Tammy, and they've asked to remove that access to Tammy and just have the one access to Central. All right, the next one, site plan 635. This is Tractor and Equipment Company on Church Street. Adding basically just a concrete pull-through drive. Right now, they currently, what's been explained to us, the situation, they pull in off of Church Street with those big lowboy trailers with big tractors on them, and then that trailer's having to do about a 100-point turn to turn around and get back out on Church. So this will be just a pass-through drive and another gate onto Wilson to get them back out. And on this one, it'll be per engineering approval, and then there is a sewer main that runs across the property, and DU needs the easement for that shown on the plans. The next one is site plan 636. This is 121 Moulton Street East. This is the Fairfield Hotel that's going in on the corner of Moulton and 2nd. On this one, we need the recording of the certificate 356421 that was done a few meetings ago to be completed. And this one will be per engineering and DU approval as well.
There's certificates where they added the pocket park.
Pocket park, yeah.
Yeah, the certificate to combine the two lots has already been approved. It just hasn't been recorded because we're waiting for the transfer of the property and the common ownership to be established. As soon as that's done, we'll get it recorded and be able to give the full approval. All right, and then the last one is a vacation 541. This goes along with the earlier certificate to subdivide on the Hempstead Avenue property. There's a DUT easement that runs across that north property boundary, and they're looking to get that vacated. The only thing needed on this is a signed vacation package, and it was approved by engineering and DU.
We normally have Gary here for DU. Is there anybody here for DU today?
Not today that I'm aware of, no.
But they have approved.
They have, yes, they were fine with this one.
Any questions about any of them? Okay, public hearing will start at 3:30, y'all. Oh, hold on.
Hearing's ongoing for that one. I believe we got 30% plans a week or so ago on that one.
They're closing in on 30% plans on Upper River and 67. So once that gets done, we should know what right of way we need to acquire, and we'll start that process.
Can you explain what the plan is?
Currently, I guess it would, as Upper River Road comes to the west and intersects 67 at a bit of a skew, we'll take Upper River Road and actually turn it and do our best to make it a perpendicular intersection and put a traffic signal there. That's the short of it. Any other ones you want to talk about?
Red Bank and 31.
Red Bank and 31, that project has been bid. Working on getting contract documents signed in the right places and to AlDOT, and recently got approved to get P. Wright McAnally on board to do the CE&I on that. Hopefully do a pre-construction next month and maybe be under construction by May. So anybody traveling 31 north and south, beware.
Everybody remembers what they're doing there, we have to go on past and do U-turn. What about Indian Hills, Lower River, and River Road?
Yep, I just got a proposal from that today. It'll be on the next council meeting to start that engineering work, the April 4th meeting. So assuming the council approves that, we'll start that engineering work in April.
Okay. And we already heard about Modus. Anybody have any questions pertaining to traffic?
Yeah, you mentioned Upper River Road and 67, traffic light signal going in. That's where the flashing yellow light is now?
Yes, ma'am.
So you'll have a red, yellow, and green?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, we'll get started at 3:30.
You're just in time.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Here?
Commissioner Gordon, Commissioner Tate,
Here.
Commissioner Pepper, Commissioner Wynn,
Here.
Commissioner Temple, Commissioner Burrows,
Here.
Commissioner Culpepper,
Here.
Commissioner Pike.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. I'd like to take a moment to introduce the Planning Commission members and give a brief description of what we do and how this meeting is conducted. The commission has 9 members. 8 of us are volunteers appointed by the mayor for a 6-year term. We also have 1 member from the city council. My name is Kent Lawrence. Our vice chair, Gary Borden, is not with us today. Dan Culpepper is our secretary. Other members are Francis Tate, Myrna Burrows, Joseph Wynn, and Eddie Pike. Forrest Temple is a member, is not with us today either, and Hunter Pepper is our council member who is not present. Members of the public seeking to get an item considered by the Planning Commission must send an application to the Planning Department no less than 21 days prior to this meeting. Unless otherwise specified, all applications for development approvals are the result of submittals by a private citizen seeking some change in their own property. In making our decision, a primary tool used by the Planning Commission is the One Decatur Comprehensive Plan. This is a general community plan for the city of Decatur and was adopted through a public process to formalize a vision for the future of the community that represents the interests and will of all Decatur residents. In many of these cases, the Planning Commission does not have the final say. Zoning, annexation, vacation, sidewalk cafe license, and resolutions all require additional approval by the city council before they become official. In these cases, the role of the Planning Commission is to advise the city council. The first part of today's meeting is a public hearing. Each item will be read separately and voted on after comments and discussion. If you wish to comment on an item, we ask that you come forward to the podium, state your name and your address, and then make your comments. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. After the case that you're here for has been heard, you're free to leave at that time or stay for the whole meeting if you would like. In today's public hearing, we'll have these type requests. Rezoning. This is the changing in the current zoning of a property to a different zoning. The commission will vote to recommend or not recommend to the zoning change to the city council. If an applicant wishes to go to the city council without the recommendation of the planning commission, they should notify the planning department via email or writing tomorrow. So in other words, if we deny it, you can still take it to the city council on your own. Then we also have preliminary plats. This is the second step of a subdivision process and will have construction plans included. Okay, if you'd please read the first case.
First case is rezoning 138922. It is 0.33 acres. It's currently zoned B1 Local Shopping District. The applicant is Ben Hampton for Mike Aziz. The location is 1201 Moulton Street West. The request is to rezone 0.33 acres from B1 to B2. The new zoning would be B2 General Business. Proposed land use is commercial, a package store. The One Decatur future land use is urban edge mixed use. And the One Decatur street typology, Moulton Street West, is a principal arterial. Comments from the zoning committee. The zoning committee was not in favor of this request. Concerns were expressed about the compatibility with the surrounding residential neighborhood and other uses that could be allowed if the property were to be sold to someone else. The applicant was advised to talk to members of the neighborhood and see if they could gain their support.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak to this request? Yes, sir. Come forward.
I could real quick before you.
One thing I would like to say real quick before is there was a petition that was circulated and brought to us for your consideration as well.
Okay.
All speaking in favor of this.
Okay, does that petition spell out what all is allowed in B2?
Let's see, no, just in general, the switch from B1 to B2 for the purpose of opening a package store.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That was my petition that I had gathered myself.
First off, you need to state your
Oh,
name
I'm
and
sorry.
address.
My name is Ben Hampton. Address is 1214 Arbor Street, Southwest Decatur. As I was saying, that was my petition. I actually stopped by the planning office here before doing the petition, you know, because last week in the meeting that I was present at, it was concerns about the community being in support of, you know. So as I discussed last week, if the community was not in support of what I was attempting to accomplish here, then I would not, you know, go any further with it. If there were, you know, a number of complaints or people with a lot of different type of concerns, then I wouldn't go forth with it because I truly want the community to support my business, you know. I'm not successful if they don't support it. So I stopped by there to see, had there been any other, you know, had there been any, you know, a word from anyone as far as complaints or people that were concerned or wasn't, you know, in agreement with it. And I was told by the gentleman here that there had been no complaints, not one person, since the mail had been sent out. That prompted me to go ahead and continue with the petition. I luckily, you know, I wear dress shoes a lot, but I had my tennis shoes on yesterday. And I went door to door to each and every home in the area on foot. For several hours I was on foot. And not only to gain the signatures and to see how they felt, but I wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to let them know what my vision was, what I had going on, that I actually grew up here in this area. So anything that I try to accomplish here is not going to be in the detriment of my community, first and foremost. So I know I only got 3 minutes. So the support, it was really overwhelming to me. I was actually surprised myself. I expected to talk to several people and they were going to tell me that they wasn't in favor. And they were going to be like, no, you know, for whatever reasons. And I may have talked to 200 or 300 people yesterday, and I didn't get that not one time. So to say that my community won't support my business or won't be in favor, that's just not factual. And I think you can see from all those signatures there, that's just not factual. And I just don't want, you know, the governing bodies to take the opinion of one person or even two people as the opinion of the entire community, because as you can see, it's just not factual. And several people have came from the community. These are not family members. These are people from that same community here today. Not you know, not all of my sisters and brothers. So, and I got a lot of those. But so, like I said, I just, you know, would like the governing body to take that into consideration. The opinion of one or two or however many is not it's not majority by any means. And like I said, the support that I was showed yesterday surprised me. It was overwhelming to me. And again, I would like, you know, hopefully that'll be taken into consideration.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Rodney Gordon, 2301 Rockingham Lane. I'm here to speak in favor of this package store for the simple fact that the convenience in the District 1, to go to a liquor store, you got to go down 24 or 6th Avenue or the Beltline, which in this liquor store can potentially eliminate drunk driving, DUIs, and potential fatalities. I mean, with the convenience of this liquor store, I'm not promoting liquor, but I'm trying to save lives, because I think it is necessary for the liquor store to be there, because I know, and you know, and you know, and you know, and you know, black people drink alcohol. Okay, and for anybody to travel 5 miles this way, 3 miles, 8 miles this way, it's a potential fatality can happen, especially if they've been drinking. But now if you got a package store there, especially one that delivers, then you eliminate a whole lot of stuff that can be detrimental to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay. One thing I just want to mention on the petition, a big concern is that when we rezone something to B2, it does allow for a package store, but there's other things that allow for it as well. And if the owner of the package store is not successful and sells that property to someone else to use it for another item that is permitted in B2, that is our concern, that is our largest concern. We had this same thing last month in another part of town. It was exactly the same. They wanted to go from B1 to B2. And they had a petition that was about like this. And the petition does not explain what all can happen in B2. And so we sort of can't take a lot of stock in the petition because of that reason. So I just wanted to point that out. And last month we had the same thing and we did decline it. All right, so if there's no one else to speak, do we have a motion? Yes, sure.
I just had one question.
Yeah.
And because I don't know the entire process, or if it's even allowable. Is there a contingency that can be put in place if I were to sell the property? Could I rezone it back if I were to?
Well, I mean, you could rezone it back before you sold the property, but I don't think, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Marks this, I don't think we can legally make you do that. Is that correct, Mr. Marks?
That's right.
Okay.
But he don't want you to make him do it. He's
I
willing to
know,
do it.
but what I'm saying is that in 10 years from now or 2 years from now, he may not remember that, and we have no recourse to, so it's really not, it's just a statement, to be honest. You know, I wish we could do that. There'd be a lot of things that we could do if we were able to do things like that, but we can't do that. Correct? We can't put a condition on it, period, as far as.
That's called conditional zoning in this situation. That's not appropriate, nor legal.
And I'm sure most everybody knows Mr. Marks is the city attorney. That's why I'm asking him these questions. Okay.
So,
Which-
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Tab Bowling, Mayor, with the petitioner, based on what you just said about B2, would the petitioner be wise to maybe consider asking for this to be tabled and then going back and explaining to the residents here what B2 is and then resubmit?
Well, I can only speak for myself. For me to consider this petition, it would have to explain everything that B2 allows. I can't accept it because it doesn't explain that. And I didn't on the last one either. I didn't accept, they had a petition about the same size, and it was the same way. It just said to go to a package store. And I understand people desiring the package store, but if the package store went away and it was a used car lot or an auto repair shop or things that people wouldn't desire, that would be, you know, they could do that. Yes, go ahead,
And
Francis.
also, let me say, I would be remiss if I decline one neighborhood the same thing and bring it into my neighborhood. In B2, there's too many things that can happen that's detrimental to a neighborhood. With those houses, the neighborhood butt up against. You can bring in a club, auto dealership, auto repair shop. All of these things can happen in B2. You might have good intentions, but suppose 2 years from now you decide I'm not making enough money, I decide I want to club here. Then you can do it in a B2. But keeping it a B1 is to make sure that the neighborhood is not impacted by any business. That is the purpose of from B1 to B2.
B1 is business, it's just like business.
Right, like
It's
business.
offices and things like that. Could be a real estate office, those type businesses.
Right.
So back to the mayor's question, yes, and maybe everybody else wants to chime in on that, but for me to consider a petition, it would have to spell out everything that B2 allows, and it does not do that. Yes, sir.
Question. So if we do another petition, could you give us a petition that would state what B2 actually means?
I'm-
And then we could present to our people, then they can sign
Yes,
it in?
exactly. And I'm sure Mr. Terry with the planning department would be glad to write that petition out for you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because I will say this, if we vote on it, if you don't table it to next month, if we voted on it, when could that come back?
6 months.
Exactly.
But you can table it, bring it back. Now,
Next
I'm not gonna
month.
say that it might not change anything.
Right.
But you could table it and bring it back next month versus waiting 6 months.
And I will also say, like I said a while ago, that if we do not approve it, that doesn't stop you from taking it to the council.
True.
But I will say that the council does regard our opinion very highly. So, anybody else wants to speak? Okay. No further comments. Do we have a motion to recommend this to the council?
Motion.
What,
Something over here?
well,
On the table.
you do?
Okay, so you're asking for us to table it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That'll give me time to get the new petition done.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to come to the podium and officially do that. Go ahead and state that you're the applicant.
Ben Hampton, the applicant, obviously. Yes, I would like to table, in terms, so I can get the new petition. And,
Okay.
and we'll see where that step takes us
Okay.
at that point.
Okay, do we have a motion to table this until next month?
So moved.
table?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. Culpepper. Any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Wynn?
Yes.
Burrows?
Yes.
Culpepper?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Okay, so this one is tabled and will be on next month's agenda. Okay, we can move to the next case, please. So we'll just take a minute here. If you were here for that case, you're free to go now if you would like to.
I don't need to get that petition. No. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
These addresses nowhere near Morgan Street on this side of town.
Okay. Okay.
The next case is rezoning 139022. It is 33.12 acres, currently zoned Ag 1 or Agricultural District. Applicant is Shoal Engineering for Kim Schuster and Rhonda Spangler. The location is approximately 4,000 Spring Avenue Southwest. The request is to rezone 33.12 acres from Ag 1 to R5. The new zone would be R5 single-family patio homes. Proposed land use is residential. One Decatur future land use is mixed neighborhood. And one Decatur street typology, Spring Avenue Southwest, is a minor arterial. The comments from the zoning committee was in favor of this request.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak to this case? Yes, ma'am. Okay, she won. Okay.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Thompson, and I live on Stinson Drive, right there. And right now I overlook the pasture, and my mother passed a couple of years ago and left the house to my sister and I, and she and I both are in agreement that we are perfectly fine with this neighborhood going in. The only thing that we do request is this road, Stinson Road, is a gravel road, and every time it rains, which is a lot, we're going through swimming holes of gravel. And that's our only request, is that that be developed and used, and have gutters and drainage. That's the only thing we ask.
Okay, are you asking for that specific piece of it to be used that way, or if it is used to be paved and guttered?
Well, yeah, if it's used by any, I mean,
Yeah, right.
by the public, I mean,
Yeah,
it's a disaster right now.
Okay, but
And-
but you're not specifically saying you want them to use that road. If they do away with that road, you're okay with that as well?
Well, there's about 5 houses on that road. I don't know how they could do away with that road.
What is it, shared private drive?
It's currently a shared private drive, yes.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we would like to see it paved. I mean, we know that it needs to be beneficial to the land developer, but we would like to see drainage and paved.
So is it part of this piece of property?
Yes, this private drive is on this property that is being rezoned.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
So I know this will probably come up later in the subdivision, but if this is a private drive, and somebody else has now bought this private drive, it's access to all this property.
It will have to be dealt with in some manner through the plating process.
Okay. So, but basically it would be assumed that we're gonna require it to become a public street.
In some
And that the
form.
developer use that in some form.
That's going to be what will be requested and what we'll be looking for in terms, the developers here, if you'd like to speak to that.
Gerald Clark with Shoal Engineering, 7500 South Memorial Parkway. We've done a couple of layouts on this particular piece of property. Of course, it's all preliminary and pending zoning, but we have looked at using that private drive either as a part of the subdivision or not. We're flexible both ways with it, so if it's the city's desire to have that improved, then we've got a layout that would accommodate that.
Okay.
So we're good doing it either way, though.
Okay. Well, we're gonna need to maintain access to those properties, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There'd be the inconvenience during construction. Of course, you're gonna have to deal with that construction for a little while, but then in the long run, it'd probably work out.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Brought my planning profile also. I'm Lynette Jackson, and I live 4025 Spring Avenue. My house is directly in front of the 33 acres, and we have major, major drainage problems. I'm not gonna oppose, I'm not gonna say that I'm for the neighborhood or whatever it is, because I feel like when they built the 5-lane, 4-lane out there, they expanded the Spring Avenue. We were supposed to have gotten drainage, all of that taken care of. My planning profile says that I was supposed to have gotten a concrete bottom, grass on both sides, which was not done. It was just grass completely, which was sodded. And so the drainage that we have consistently is a spring on top of the mountain that consistently runs through my property. My property sits on Spring and Jesse. So when they took 1/3 of an acre, that brought us back. And so the drainage that we have, my thing is, when the water goes across underneath the road, it goes through a natural drain which flows behind St. Anne's. So when you have a natural drain, you cannot go in there and really disturb a natural drain, because we have water at this point on Jesse coming out of the road when the spring is full. Just sit and watch. There's water that continuously runs that I have seen for the past 3 weeks. So my thing is, when you build that neighborhood or patio homes, what is your plan as far as putting in a reservoir or something to where the water can channel to go into one big pot? Because I know that was discussed with Pugh Wright and McAnally. I'm just saying, we have drainage problems so bad. Right now, my field is nothing but water. I mean, just consistently, and it's not flowing off, not like they told us it was gonna flow off. Also, on the Schuster and Spangler side, they had to put in city sewer. We're all still on septic tanks. So my thing is, when you start doing all this, are you looking at the people that's already been established there? You know, when you do that. Will we be added city sewer? Because when we annexed, that's what they told us, we were gonna get city sewer. But when it all came down to it, that's not what happened. We had to pay if we wanted to get on it, which I think that's totally unfair. That's unfair. So my thing is, I have a problem. I have a problem with you coming back out there digging up again, and nothing was never resolved from the first time when the 5 lanes went on. Nothing was resolved. We got drainage problems. We have a neighbor.
If you would wrap up your 3 minutes.
Oh, is it 3 minutes only? Okay, well, take care of it, please.
Okay.
I really would appreciate it because it's a problem right now.
All right. Let me explain at this point what we're just rezoning. When they come in with a plat or subdivision plan, that's when we look at drainage. So it is a part of the process, but it's not part of today's process. Today is just to rezone it to R5, to let the property owner know that they can develop it. Then they would submit that plan in a later part. And that's when we would look at drainage, streets, and things like that. Sort of goes to both of the questions. But that is part of the process, and it is something that we're concerned about, is drainage, traffic. all
It's a
those
very bad problem right now.
things. Okay, thank you. Yes, yeah, go ahead.
They're actually building, are they single family homes?
Yeah, R5 is single family detached, or patio homes, what they are.
Detached.
That's right, they're patio homes.
Okay, so could you tell me what kind of value?
Oh, well, when we're rezoning it to R5, just gives them the authority to do that as far as value. If he wants to come back and speak to something like that, but.
Kind of worried about the property value out there too. So can you answer that question?
Mr. Lawrence, you need to identify yourself.
Yeah, if you're,
Okay,
yeah.
no problem, Mr. Martin. We'll do that.
Get your name.
And I would say before you ask the question, he's not required, he doesn't
Right.
have to, but if he
Right.
wishes to, he can.
Well, like I said, I'm Randy Jackson. I'm Lynette's husband.
Right.
And I live at 4025 Spring Avenue. And like I say, when you drive out of my driveway, the first thing I look is at 33 acres of land. And one of the things that I am concerned about before I decide okay or nay, you know, you've already told me it's going to be detached. But if once you do change it from R1 to R5, I would like to know, you know, what the value of these patio homes may be, because I'm concerned about my property value. So if you kind of give me an idea about that, you know, we can see what happens after that.
Okay.
I'll wait and see if there's any more.
Okay, is anybody else that wants to, yes, sir, come forward.
My name's Dennis Knowlton. I live on 912 Woodruff Road, which is the next street adjoining Jesse Drive. I watched them put in the farm, and I also watched them try to rezone part of the farm. 12 acres was asked to be rezoned into some type of commercial thing, which the neighborhood objected to that. My question would be, are they gonna try the same thing with this 33 acres? Now, I know that they said they're gonna rezone it to R5, but we also know how people are, especially the people that try to put in these developments. At a later time, are they gonna try to rezone that, to put some commercialism in that? And I don't know the developers. I wanna know if there's gonna be a square footage limit, how small they can get. Because I know there's some talk in town that there's 17 or 19 acres that they want to develop and put 45 homes on 17 acres, which seems totally ridiculous to me. So how small are these patio homes gonna be allowed to get? That is my concern with our neighborhood out there. You know, you're shoving all this stuff into the southwest part of town. You know, how small are they gonna allow these homes to get? You know, at some point, they're gonna be so small that nobody's gonna live out there, and they're gonna turn them into Section 8 homes. You know, that's our concern. You know, we all have problems out there, like Mr. Jackson said. We got, in that part of the country, Spring Avenue was named Spring Avenue for a reason. We got springs out there and a horrendous water control problem. Nobody seems wants to address the water control problem out there on them streets. You know, maybe the other parts of town don't have the problems we got. I can go out there during the rain in a pair of ankle shoes into my driveway. It's over my shoes. I got 2.5 acres out there I can do nothing with because there's no water control on my street. You know, I'm not a rich guy, but if they would fix the street and put drainage in like was mentioned earlier, that would solve some of our problems. But you know, we can't compete with those people that have the money that want to develop in places and take the taxes from the southwest part of the community. Then you know, our property values can't go up. Nobody wants to live on septic systems. They want to be put on a sewer. And at some point, I'm sure the EPA is going to require sewers to be in an incorporated area. That's going to happen. I mean,
3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, you want to speak again?
First question I'll take is the drainage issue. What we do, or what kind of development happens on that property, no matter what it is, it's going to need to take drainage into account. We won't be able to impede the existing flow across the property, and we can't increase it either. So we're going to have to do a detention pond on that property to maintain the existing flow during a normal rain event. So we won't be able to change that as far as what the flow is off the property during a rain event. As far as the stream goes, we've already started looking at that. We're aware of it. We know that we won't be able to do much with it if it's determined to be a blue line stream, and we'll have to do a wetland delineation or stream delineation, and there are Corps of Engineers requirements that allow us to impact the stream, or we may have to leave that alone. So that's yet to be determined, but we are aware of it, and we do not intend to cause any damage to any surrounding homeowners as far as the stream goes. You had asked about the price point for the houses.
You said it was detached, right?
Yes, they're detached, so they're single-family detached. Patio homes mean smaller lots. They don't necessarily mean less square footage. You want to try to fit the neighborhood you're in. You don't want to overbuild or underbuild. You kind of want to match it. I don't know that I've looked exactly at what their square footage is, but I do know their price points in the low 300s probably. And then, you know, that could vary with what happens with inflation per unit, yes. Yeah.
That's
So,
not saying a lot compared to what the price of materials are nowadays.
yeah, well, it could change with inflation, you know, it could go up. So,
$300,000 to build a 1,500
Oh,
square foot
okay.
house nowadays.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to cut you off. He's speaking.
yeah, so, yeah, I realize that number will change with inflation, I'm aware of that. I think that was most of the questions.
Just to make sure, detached, average of 300.
They're yes. Patio homes means detached, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just a smaller lot is what it is. You're looking at, a lot of times it's for retirement communities or folks who just don't want a yard to maintain.
We just want to give it up, because like I said, my property is over 300,000,
Oh,
and I don't want to see it drop, that's all.
thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Let me just explain, R5 means that it's a minimum of 5,000 square foot lot. And then the setbacks are 6 and 5, right? Six on one side, 5 on the other side, feet from the house beside. As far as the retail, somebody can always come back and ask to rezone something, but I will tell you that our land use, our long-range land use calls for this to be mixed neighborhood, which is all residential. So if we're looking at our plan, we wouldn't allow retail in that area. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but it probably wouldn't happen, just like it didn't at the farm.
And to do that would be a separate rezoning that would have to be requested, and the same process as this one, all of the neighbors would be notified. You would know in advance of anybody requesting something like that.
Anybody else wish to speak? If not, do we have a motion to recommend rezoning to R5 to the council?
Motion for approval?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. Culpepper. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Please call the roll.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Tate,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Okay, that's approved 6-0. Okay, next case, please.
The next item is rezoning 139122. It is 80.86 acres, currently zoned Ag 1 Agricultural District. The applicant is Pewright McAnally for Stephen Osborne and Steve Lee. The location is 2705 Modus Road Southwest. The request is to rezone 80.86 acres from Ag 1 to R5 and R6. The new zoning would be R5 single-family patio homes and R6 single-family semi-attached townhomes. Proposed land use is single-family residential. The one Decatur future land use is mixed neighborhood, and the one Decatur street typology, Modus Road Southwest, is a minor arterial. The comments from the zoning committee was in favor of this request.
Hey, any comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
Received a lot of emails, messages, a few phone calls, text from residents in this area and with concerns regarding traffic issues and needed improvements along this development specific to Modus Road. Yesterday, following our morning council meeting, Council President Ladner asked me to get with our city engineer and to begin first presenting estimates for widening of Modus Road. The engineer responded that his recommendations for widening would be to look at a 5-lane widening plan or a 3-lane widening plan. Right now, I believe that it's from Danville Road to almost to Decatur Presbyterian Church. It's 4-lane. I can't remember if there's, Herman, you live in that area. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Is that 5-lane?
No, it's 5.
It's 5. Okay, let me look at the, forgive me. I know I'm supposed to address mine to you. So anyway, 5 is just, we are fortunate that we have some federal funds to be able to deal with infrastructure, and just want the residents to know that I believe that it's going to be the intention to make some improvements there. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, my name is Craig Pollard. I resided at 2428 Duncansby Drive, Southwest, for 22 years. The time I moved in that area, they were still building approximately another 100 homes back in the Dunbarton area, which I think you're all familiar with. Since then, we've had a couple new schools. We had a soccer field complex put in, first class. I do acknowledge it is very nice. We had the two schools with staff and students. We're talking 1,800 people or more. We have it's called a minor thoroughfare, Modus Road. It is also used by people on the southwest side of town to cut across and go out to the industrial park where we have thousands of people employed from our city. In 1999, it was about 2 years later, there was talk about widening Modus Road. There's still talk. That's all we hear is talk. We haven't seen anything. I'll just go on with Modus Road for a minute. Modus Road goes from 4 lanes to 3 lanes to 2 lanes, 2-lane width from the end of Dunbarton, right here, all the way down to the high school, which was repaved after Austin High School was built. The width of that road is 23 feet 2 inches. The width of the streets in Dunbarton here are anywhere from 29 feet to 10 inches or 30 feet to 2 inches. If you have an emergency out at the school in the morning when this street is totally bumper to bumper, a fire truck cannot get down through there because this 23 2-inch street has 6 to 8 inch shoulders. After that, they drop off into ditches. So now this fire truck is going to have to wait until all the traffic gets cleared at the high school so they can get down this road. Now it's proposed to put in R5 and R6. R6 is 2.5 story townhouses. 12 townhouses maximum per acre. Your sketch and drawing doesn't tell us how many homes he's planning to put in there. But from the sketch, he's basically looking at putting about 240 to 400 houses. We don't know. And then he's got the patio homes that he could put around it. It shows something down in here, does not show us anything about it. Patio homes, nothing on there about the construction. You're going to add, right here in this neighborhood, you're going to add in another 2,000 cars or more per day of people going in and out from work, running the neighborhoods, running the store.
Okay, sir, if you'd wrap up.
Okay. You are blocking down here, this is zoned R5. To prove anything like this, you need a street down here for access. You already overloaded this. Drainage, the mayor's told about the drainage, the study's been done. He told me before the meeting that it looked like it was adequate. That drainage is going to dump right into here, which already floods. Up here, it floods. Down at the very end of the neighborhood, I tried to buy a house in '99. The neighbor told me I'd have to buy flood insurance because of the water going down these ditches. That's back in '99. That's before all of this here dumps into that street. So the ballpark is also being proposed later on.
So I'm gonna ask you to wrap up.
Okay. The street can't handle it. That's all there is to it. The traffic and all. You're putting us in a real mess.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Janice Morgan. I just purchased the property at 2526 Modus Road. We previously owned 2530 Modus Road, which we sold last month for over $700,000. There's a lot of very nice homes on that street, and the property we just purchased was almost $200,000. So my concern is like the people on Spring Avenue. What's the value of these homes going to be, especially if they're townhomes? Is it going to be a gated community with an association fee? Do you have any idea, is the developer here to explain any of that?
I don't think so.
Okay. So that's my concern, right?
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jeff Hickson. I reside at 2706 Asheville Drive. I've been a resident there for almost 30 years now. I've seen the neighborhood grow. I grew up there as a kid. We've seen some good growth in the area, as Craig mentioned, with schools and everything. To take on this kind of development, I think is really going to hurt the area. It's going to be so many people there, I don't know if they can handle it. With the drainage and everything else, we're seeing that the problems that we have in other parts of the neighborhood. I think it's a bad idea. And then when you start throwing in R6 townhomes, it's going to really hurt our home values. And I'm concerned about that being there for this long. I don't plan on moving anytime soon, so I would really like to see it stay the way it is. I don't want to see my property values go down, just like many other people. We know that Decatur's going to continue to grow, but we want to see it grow in the right way. We don't want to see, we know what happens with apartments or townhomes down the road. You'll see things diminish and it go downhill. I've seen it happen in other parts when me and my wife first got married. So I just think it's a bad idea to bring something in there. If you're going to build nice homes to hold up the values of everybody else's property, that's a pretty good idea, but anything else it's not good. I wish we had more representation here, but I know everybody's busy. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Oh.
My name is Celia Fowler. I live at 2428 Duncansby Drive Southwest. My daughter and I were trying to get out of our neighborhood today on Asheville or Carrington and to get to the meeting. We had a hard time getting out just now. So what's going to be like when we have all those patio homes and townhomes? Not only the townhomes, that's section 6, right?
R6.
R6, sorry. What if what if those townhomes become section 8? Then what? What are we supposed to do? We have a nice neighborhood. Everyone maintains their lawns and their homes, and we're proud of it. We're having a hard time getting out of our streets now, and we're going to have more patio homes, more townhomes. There's no outlets. I don't know where they're going to come into Asheville and Duncansby, and how are they going to get out? I mean, we've got so much traffic now with both schools. And not only that, in the summertime, we have, the high school has they're playing football, and they have band. And so there's always traffic. And we have the churches on Modus. But we also have the 2 schools. We've got a wonderful soccer field, terrific, we love it. But now we're going to have another ball field. Do we need that? I mean, really? To congest? I mean, it's congested. Modus isn't wide enough, we know that. Our drainage isn't good on Asheville. You know, we need help too, but we don't want it. We don't need it. And we surely don't want the ball field. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Beverly Williams. I live at 2430 Duncansby Drive, Southwest Decatur. I live on the corner of Asheville and Duncansby. The drainage is ditches right behind my house. I live on the east side of Asheville, and on the west side are the houses. We have a drainage problem. We have water that comes from the hill across Modus Road. We also have the water coming from the field over there where you're putting the houses. And all that water comes, and it's actually gone over Asheville Drive before. The water has gone over. There's one culvert that goes under the street there. And it's horrible. And that's where the ditch starts, actually. The drainage ditch starts at Asheville. And we do have a problem there. I do say that we do have a problem with the traffic. We're getting the cart before the horse. We need the traffic situation taken care of before we put in all of these houses with all of the cars and the traffic. But that's all I have to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to make an additional comment.
Sure.
When I found out about this, I came home one afternoon, and the flyer, which is this zoning flyer here, was attached to the handle on my mailbox. And I looked at that, and that's about 12 days ago, when I looked at that, and I said, something's up. I don't understand what these R6s and all are. I went to Planning Commission that Monday, so just before weekend, so I went on Monday. And I found out about the R6 being townhouses. I then went down and I found out that this flyer was put out to 47 homes, as much as I can count and find out from people. And back in Duncansby, you have 788 homes, believe it or not, and it's still under construction back there. So you're collecting over $600,000 or more on taxes easily, with no consideration to us. Out of those 788, we had 47 that got these flyers. I went down Asheville personally myself last week when I had time. I was out of town a few times. I was able to get to about 20 homes. Some I couldn't get a hold of people at. Out of those 20 homes, 20 to 18, I had 5 people that said that they never got this, and their backyard is their farmer's field. You have a very poor way of notifying people about what is happening to them, because all 788 of those homes are affected by this, not 47 houses. So I just don't think it was done properly. And I do request that if you don't put any requirements, but I still do request if you do, and you pass this today, that before the next meeting, we have at least a 60-day notice so that I can personally hand out folders and flyers to the neighbors. And then you could probably maybe, we don't have a civic center, but find some place bigger for all the people that'll be here. Because there is flooding and there is traffic problems. And this does stand a very high chance of devaluing our property. Thank you again.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question for the mayor, because he said that they said they're gonna do some widening of the roads. So does he have any idea when that possibly could be? Because that's what everybody's concerned with.
So there's a process. So the first thing will be to determine cost estimates, as we have asked from our city engineer, and then that will be presented to the city council. And then from there, the city council would make a decision as to whether or not they're willing to approve that cost estimate. And from there, then you go into the design, engineering. So it's probably, Nathan, may I address an engineer, Mr. Chairman?
We could.
Oh, here he is. What is it, about 2 or 3 years?
This is Carl Pruitt, the city
Carl
engineer.
Pruitt, I'm the city engineer. Yeah, where we're at today, and the mayor has asked me to reach out and get a proposal from an engineer to widen Motors Road. I'd get that proposal, get it in front of the council, and start the engineering. Engineering on a project of this size probably take 4 months, maybe 6, depending on where we at. Getting to construction, if we need to purchase right of way, anything else like that would play a factor in getting started. If it pushed through and things went well, 12 to 18 months we could be under construction. And the people that are in the audience that's worried about 500 homes, you know, average subdivision that we've had building 30, 40 a year. So to build out 500 homes, you're talking 10 plus years. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen tomorrow or as soon as it gets zoned. It's a long process. So we have time to work on these improvements that y'all are asking for, is what I'm saying. So that's what I need to say.
So that total time,
Go ahead.
that total time would be, yes, you had design, construction, fire right of ways,
And get
for a
into
couple of years.
construction. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll allow you one quick question from your seat.
This has been under discussion by the city for over 20 years. We talked about it when they put soccer fields in, it's talked about before then.
Okay.
So don't tell me about just a few times, just a short period of time. You already got about 20 years' time in it already. So don't be pushing it down our throats.
Yes, ma'am. If you got a quick question or you want to make a statement?
Just a statement.
Okay, come on back up.
Okay. Just one other statement that I haven't heard here. Modus Road is a thoroughfare for Lawrence County. Lawrence County people really only have 3 ways to get there, and that's on 20, Old Moulton Road, and Modus. And I guarantee you, Modus is the most, and there are a lot of people from Lawrence County coming to work in Decatur. And that is part of the problem, not just the ballparks, the schools. That Modus Road is just a thoroughfare for Lawrence County, and I haven't heard that, so I'd just like to make that statement.
Okay, thank you.
One quick question.
Okay.
In that small section there where I live on Ashland, between there and Carrington, the way the houses back up the Lotus Road, and on both sides of the road, there's one small bottleneck right there. I don't know how you could widen it. I just wonder if somebody could answer that, because it's so tight right there.
Again, you're just looking at it from what's out there. Like I said before, we would probably have to acquire right of way, and most likely, depending on the design and how things work, how that would go. But yeah, that's that right of way acquisition. We would have to buy some property to make that happen.
I think his question is there enough property there to buy?
Well,
That's really my question.
I mean, again, until we get into some actual locations, property lines, design, well, that's when we'll figure that out. I mean, I don't know, I can't answer that question today. I don't know.
Widen each way, but you're still gonna have that one pipe bottom. It's gonna be a problem.
We can figure it out.
You're right up to somebody's property.
That's, and a lot of times that's exactly right. That's what happens. Or we buy somebody's property.
Somebody's front yard.
Right. This lady back
I
here.
just want to have one quick question that everybody's concerned with too. Before you vote on rezoning it for townhomes, could we have somebody tell us what those values are going to be? I'm actually not against it if it's going to be a nice area that's like Greystone that's kept up. But I want to know, what they're building before it's rezoned. Surely we should be able to have that information.
Representative. There's no one here representing the property owner today. And I'll go back, people can tell you something, but once it's zoned for R5, R6, they can do whatever meets the requirements for that zone, so. I will say generally, new construction improves property value, no matter what it is. And we do have some townhomes in this city that are 350, 400,000. So, yes, ma'am.
Well, since there's no representative here, then you don't have to vote on it, or can you?
No, we still have to vote on it.
Can you show us where the outlets would be? I mean, if you're putting all this.
None of that is designed yet. All we're doing now is zoning it. That is in the next phase, would be all of those things. The design for streets and outlets and drainage, and all those things still have to be addressed. But this just zones it to allow them to start that process.
But if any one of you were living in that neighborhood, I think you would feel the same way we do. I'm sure of it.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Would it be?
You're gonna have to come up here.
My name is Michelle Braswell. I live at 2403 Duncansby Drive. Would it be possible to table this until some more information can be given to the residents? Is it possible to?
Well, in the one we tabled before,
Yes.
the owner himself asked for that table.
Right.
And we don't have the owner here asking
Anybody
us to
to
table
represent?
this one.
Understand? All right, thank you.
Yes.
Nathan Tomerlin, 3112 Village Creek Road. I just wanted to clarify, we represent the owner as the engineer. I can't answer any specific questions to the houses, what kind of countertops they're gonna have, what kind of carpet or hardwood floors they're gonna have. But we represent the owner as the engineers and the design of the subdivision. So the owner does have us here as a representative for the rezoning of the property.
And generally, at this stage of the game, that is all that's here. This is not unusual. Okay? No further comments from the public. Do we have a motion to recommend this rezoning to the council?
Motion for approval?
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mrs. Tate. Please call the, well, any comments or questions from anyone on the commission? Okay, please call the roll.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Tate,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Okay. This will be presented to the council on 6-0 vote. Okay, anyone wish to leave at this time that was here for that? Okay. Okay, I just want to point out that Mr. Culpepper is recusing himself from this case, this request. But we still have 5, so that we still have a quorum. Okay.
All right, the next case is Foxwood Subdivision Phase 3 Preliminary Plat. It is 10.02 acres, currently zoned R3 Single Family Residential. The applicant is Purite McAnally for Arthur Steber. The location is north of Arapahoe Trail Southeast and west of Kiowa Trail Southeast. The request is preliminary plat approval. The proposed land use is single-family residential. One Decatur future land use is residential low density. And the One Decatur street typology, Arapahoe Trail Southeast and Kiowa Trail Southeast are local streets. The only condition to be met on this is adjacent property owner letter fees and a point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Okay. Who wishes to speak to this? Yes, sir. And I'll just remind you, you get 3 minutes.
I'm Jim Walter from 4407 Kiowa Trail. I was here when we did the rezoning, so you're gonna hear me say a lot of the same things.
Okay.
Drainage and access. I know this is only phase 1 that you're looking at now, but there's 2 more phases. And when all of these homes are sold, and I'm sure they will be, it's gonna be a fine place. You're still gonna have the longest cul-de-sac in the state of Alabama, one way in and one way out. But when all of this is complete, you're gonna double the size of burning tree. I know that your job today is not to worry about phase 3, you're worried about phase 1. I'm worried about phase 3. Do we have access planned now to go to Benpool Road or somewhere else to get out of the burning tree area? And what do we do with all this drainage water? I know we've got drainage going in, and it looks good on the plat. What are you gonna do with it? Where is it gonna flow, and when is the ditch gonna fill up? Is what we're looking at. We're not concerned about the lot sizes are smaller than we thought they would be, but they're still larger than a R3. So we're not concerned about that. They can really put a fine house on these lots. And they're gonna be little yards and up, and that'll be okay. It's not gonna hurt our subdivision. We welcome the new neighbors, and we know it's time to grow. But somewhere we've gotta look at that long plan. Let's look at phase 3. How are we gonna get there? We can't get there what we have now. There's no way. Our little stop sign on Foxwood Drive is going to be backed up 30 cars long every morning. Okay, time to look now and get planning now to fix this problem that's coming down the road.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Faye Anderson. I live at 4411 Kiowa. I'm very concerned about phase 1 because there are 2 lots now behind my 1 lot. And my lot is lower than those 2 lots that will be behind me. And in looking at the drainage plan, I'm not an engineer. I don't understand a lot of this. I don't know for exactly what's a scrum. There's supposed to be a scrum around there. What is that?
We're gonna, after everybody talks, we're gonna get the engineers to explain all this drainage to us.
Okay. And then apparently whatever drainage there is goes into a pond. It's not very far away. Is that just going to be a mosquito breeding bed? Where's that water going to end up? The other thing, I am just like Jim, I'm very worried about the traffic. And when you get to the end of Foxwood, there is on the right-hand side before you turn out, there's usually a car, sometimes 2. There's garbage cans, there's trash. And one morning I was almost hit trying to go around that so I could turn out when somebody else came in. It's a traffic problem occasionally now. It's going to be more of a traffic problem as we go along. Now, I've been in Decatur for about 20 years. These other people have been there many, many years. And I would think that our concerns would be a high priority with the commission and with the city council, much more so than an out-of-town developer. And that's my understanding. The developer doesn't even live in Decatur. And we have concerns. We pay taxes now. We voted for our city council and our mayor now. Please listen to us and take those concerns into consideration, because there's drainage. Everybody here has been talking about drainage, and we're going to have more drainage problems. When do we stop talking about drainage and do something before we keep adding to the problem? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kathy Waldrop, and I live at 4407 Kiowa. I'm Jim's better half, and Faye's one of my neighbors, and I wanted to talk to you about something that I did talk with the planning people about in passing. Jim and I are both retired Air Force. We picked Decatur to retire to. Before then, I was studying urban planning before I went in. But we're both logistics people. So I don't understand, and I don't mean to be rude to whoever drew this map. If you look at the proposed lots, there's no rhyme or reason. When Buster Poole, God bless him, originally planned this out and plotted it out, the lots that were going to be behind us were going to be the same size as our lots. And when you look at his old plan, all the lots in the subdivision were the same size. Now, why would someone want to buy this lot for a lot of money and put a beautiful home on it, and you come over here with these little baby lots, and you can barely put a house on it? That's 55 square feet, and we figured out with the setbacks and everything, what did we come up with, 41 square feet? 41 feet across the top? No, 42?
4,500 square feet, single level, that's a lot.
I know, but the frontage. Never mind. Anyway, I think that, are you representing him today?
At this point, you'll have to address your questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
to us.
I know the gentleman that was here at the planning meeting when we were here last time isn't here, so I didn't know if there was a representative from the company here. That's my question.
Yes, he is a representative from that engineering firm, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, everybody's concerned about the same thing apparently in the city of Decatur. We want it to grow, I understand that. But drainage seems to be an issue everywhere, and safety. We have children in our neighborhood that have grown up that don't know what a car is because they play outside. Once Burning Tree Drive becomes a thoroughfare for cement trucks, building machines, all that other stuff, I fear that someone's going to be hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
I need more than 3 minutes.
You only get 3, I'm sorry, Brenda.
I'm Brenda South, and I don't live in this neighborhood. I live at 4121 Indian Hills Road. If y'all could put the original picture up. What I've heard from these people is that they want you to defend the integrity of their neighborhood. And as long as my husband and I have been here since '78, that has not happened many times in Decatur. This is a beautiful area behind Burning Tree Country Club with a golf course, gorgeous homes. In the early '80s, this was Buster and Patsy's land, and up here they owned 20 acres of a 40-acre field that they shared with, the other 20 acres belonged to his brother. Greg and I came in and we wanted to build it, we wanted some land, and we bought the 80 acres that's here and over here. And you come down Burning Tree Drive and you come into our property. When Buster and Patsy put in this right here, they asked us for a letter giving them a drainage easement, or that they could drain over our property. So my question is now, I'm with these people, you need to address this phase 3 first, because you get all these, that's a small area. You get 35 lots or whatever was on that, and you don't have a plan for up here. As I understand it, there's a drainage pond right here. Is that correct? In this area right here below this section?
We're going to let the engineers explain all that drainage after everybody makes their comments.
Okay, I want to know when this gets done and this gets done, where is all this going to drain? Across my property? So, and then my second question is, once this gets in, I won't have any access for my farming. We have farmland. We use this strictly for recreation. We've been good neighbors to the Burning Tree area, except in December and January when they hunt, and you hear the guns going off. But other than that, we just farm it. Where will I get an access onto this? Because if I can't farm, my family has to sell this property. It's no good to us anymore. So we had envisioned like 3 to 5 acre places for people to come out. And yes, there are still people in Decatur that would like to have some land to build a big home on. So I'll have to sell this to a developer. What's gonna happen? He's gonna ask for the same size lots. You've got twice the amount of land on my property. To protect all these people out in Burning Tree, are you gonna have to okay 7,000 square lots on 80 acres of land? And where will they come out? You can't have that many out on Burning Tree Drive. It just won't work. So my question is, and then my third question and last is this developer going to sell these lots for the bigger home, or is the developer going to put townhomes or smaller houses on that we don't, I don't know what kind of houses are going on. So I would like to address that.
Okay, Tom. Okay, it's R3, so it has to be single family. It's not townhomes. It's gonna be homes. R3 is 7,000 square feet, minimum lot size.
3,000 square feet?
No, 7 for the lot. There's no requirement on the size of the home. That's whatever they decide to build. But
at
there
this
can't
time,
be
no one
townhomes.
knows what
There can't
what
be
kind of
townhomes.
homes?
It's gotta be single family, which a townhome is single family, but this is not zoned for townhomes, so it can't be townhomes.
My question is, they're not going to sell the lots, they're just putting those lots on and they will do the building. Is that correct?
I don't really know the answer to that. Maybe the engineering firm can tell us that. Anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay, I'd like to address the longest cul-de-sac in the state of Alabama. Will you address that for us?
So, I don't know that we can necessarily back that up by the numbers. The best example you have near us that is 3 times the size of this one is Canebrake over in Athens, where they're, like I said, about 3 times the size of this one, single entry exit. This subdivision is kind of a product of its time. It's definitely not a subdivision design that we would approve nowadays with that single entry and exit into and out of the neighborhood. We don't allow that. Unfortunately, like in a lot of areas of town, it's kind of the hand that's been dealt to us, what's been done in the past, and so the only thing you can do going forward is to work with the developers to help set you up for the future. And how we do that and how we're working with this developer as the planning department is making those connections off of the property, not doing cul-de-sacs, not doing dead-end roads, having stub streets onto the neighboring properties so that we can make those connections in the future. And that's our goal on all subdivisions nowadays, is to have as many connections off the property set up to where we don't have these problems like we do now.
Okay, so the 2 corrections that we have, or ways to correct this, would eventually be to go to Ben Pool Road, and we will require stub outs in each phase, even though this owner doesn't own that last piece of property between it and Ben Pool. We're gonna require stub outs there.
Yes.
We will require a street stub to Mrs. Sal's property as well.
Yes.
Okay. And then Burning Tree Drive has always been a plan, and someday could happen, it could connect to Summerwind.
That's the long-range plan of the city, yes, is to make that connection over into Summerwind. And then this Foxwood area, the eventual goal is to get it to Ben Pool Road.
Okay. All right. Did anyone else want to speak? I know do you want to ask a question?
I just wanted to ask a question. So we have no recourse as the current people there? I mean, it's a problem, so it becomes our problem, even it's a problem for the city, but it's more of a problem for those of us that live there. Is that correct?
It's kind of a situation, and it's, you know, development is the only way out of the situation. You know, the only way to get that connection, the other connections out of the neighborhood, is for the neighborhood to grow to those roadways.
Why not just?
Or for a private property owner to build a street of their own to it, you know, and who wants to do that?
Well, I don't have I couldn't build a street. That's
Right,
for
I
sure.
know, that's what I'm saying.
And so you just cram a lot of small lots in a place that's already a problem. Is that the answer to the problem? Cram more in?
No, ma'am, that does not solve the problem.
Well, it sounds like that's the answer to the problem.
Well,
Your answer.
I mean, the only way we can make that connection eventually to Ben Pool is if Foxwood grows to Ben Pool. And that's how we hope to establish that
You
connection.
don't understand what I'm asking. Why are we trying to cram so many houses in there when it's already a problem?
I mean,
Well, that's the landowner's
the
right.
landowner has asked to subdivide it and
But
develop
don't you
it.
have a responsibility to use common sense in approving it?
At this point, he meets all the requirements for the zone that's there. Our responsibility would be to make sure that drainage is there and that we do have a plan going forward. And I understand how you feel, I mean.
I don't think you do, so.
Okay.
Does he have a drainage plan for those first?
Do you want to go
Would
into
you like
that
to
now?
speak to it? Would you like to speak?
Go into the details of the drainage plan, that's no problem. Do we have a copy of the drainage?
We don't have the drainage, but we have the plat, if you want to pull the
I
plat
can
with
walk
you
through it.
kind of roughly.
Nathan Tomberlin, P. Wright McAnally, 3112 Village Creek Road, Decatur, Alabama. Right, so in our business, we don't change drainage patterns. So right now, take this away, and you're looking at the site. Everything is naturally draining towards this low area here, which is a wetland. And a wetland is essentially, it's under the jurisdiction of the Corps of Engineers, and it's pretty much a contour that closes on itself. So in layman's terms, you got a hole right here that everything's kind of going to. So what we're doing is we're collecting the drainage. All of these lots are pretty much graded up to where everything is draining to the streets. It's collected in storm pipe, and it's being discharged into what we have is a detention pond. So the detention pond, what that does is it takes all of the increase from the impervious areas, which were impervious. So if we have trees and we have bushes and we have grass that holds the water and slowly releases it, well, now it's hitting the pavement and it's shooting off. So that's increasing our runoff, right? So if we go into the detention pond, well, we hold that water and we slowly discharge it to the same point that it's going to now. So we're not increasing runoff. We're not increasing the volume of water that's coming onto your site. What we're doing is we're simply reducing the rate at which it discharges from the site. So what we like to do is leave a place cleaner than what we found it. And when we design these detention ponds, well, we design them to where we can reduce the flow that's coming off the site. So in actuality, you'll have a lower flow rate that's leaving the site when it comes from the detention. So it's a design system to simulate what's there and leave the drainage better from when we found it or when we got there. I don't know if that answers your question. Are there any more specific questions about drainage?
Well, my lot is lower than the lots that'll be behind me, so how's that gonna help?
So what we do is we build the lots up and we drain to the roads. And then everything that hits the roads is collected into a storm pipe and taken to the detention pond.
There's no road between me and those lots there. The road is in front of my house.
Right, so we collect these rear yard swells, which are really inconsequential. I mean, this is a little bit of water that's coming from the lot, so we'll collect inside yard swells and take to the storm line.
And what's a swell?
A ditch. A ditch.
So there'll be a ditch behind our houses?
We'll have a shallow swell.
Just very gentle.
It's still a ditch, right?
Yeah, we call it a swell.
Swell, a ditch, it's all the same.
So what about the drainage though that's north of the property? You haven't addressed that yet, right?
The drainage north of the property.
North of what's
The property that we're not developing right now.
Yes.
So in future development, what we'll do, so, I mean, I can go into detail on this, can't tell me to.
Well, what they're gonna do is they're gonna deal with the part that's affected now. What is there now is already there. So all that drains from the north, it's there now. So what they essentially do is what they change, they correct so that it's retained and leaves at the same rate as it is now. All of it, not just this one section. They're looking into the future from everything they got there. Does that answer it, Brenda?
I'm just not comfortable with it because we do have some drainage that goes across the middle of our property. And I wanna make sure that all to the north doesn't just flood onto it. That is low land. That's very low land. The section that goes across the,
Well, the same thing will happen when they have to do this next section. They'll have to deal with that drainage and defer it here, just like they have to with this section.
And Ms. Alpha, I will add that, you know, with it being a core of engineers, our hands are tied with what we can develop as far as utilization for the property, because according to the Corps, we can't disturb that area, but we can permit that. I won't go into detail, but it's called a nationwide permit. It's essentially an umbrella that covers different types of things you can do in a wetland. And residential development is one of them, but it's a process. It's about an 8 or 9 month process. And what we'll do is we'll when these phases are starting to be developed, we'll expand this detention pond and make these volumes larger to carry the additional development that's going on in the subdivision.
I guess it's safe to say that y'all are taking that into consideration now.
That's correct.
Okay. And then, Carl, I'm gonna get you to come up and explain the city's part in what you do after the engineers give you this.
They submitted plans and we've looked at them, and I want to talk a little bit about the north, because we looked at some of the existing contours, and if it helps any, about right here, kind of running through this area is a high point, it's a ridge. So the water from here comes this way, anything here is gonna drain to the north. So it's not gonna impact you or anybody else down here, because it's going towards Benpool Road. The high point of this property kind of cuts right through here. Everything drains that way, and from here it drains this way. So there's just a small sliver that's left that's not being platted that would actually drain toward the south. And I don't know if y'all picked that up or not with y'all survey, but that's what I saw on the contours that we have. And yes, we looked at the drainage plans, and for the most part, with the road that comes up through here, I believe these lots actually get cut down just slightly. So this water from back here will drain along this lot line, get captured in a box, be piped across, and eventually wind up in the detention pond roughly in that area. And the rest of the subdivision will all be captured in pipes and drained to that same detention pond.
How far into the new subdivision will this ditch be?
It'll be, I mean, we call it a ditch, it's a swell, it's a ditch that's about 6 inches deep.
I
So
know,
we're talking something like this.
How
that's-
far into their property is?
It'll be 5 to 10 feet. No, they can't build it on your property.
Yeah,
Everything
it's
that's constructed will be on their property. So it'll be 5 to 10 feet off the property line.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, at first glance, you won't even notice it. It's there to collect the water from half of the lot that's been developed.
So about where the rooftops are, if you take where y'all's houses are, if you take half of your lot, if it drains to the back, that's how much water has gotta go down this well. And The rest of it is draining straight to the road. So it's a small amount of water that's gonna be coming down this back ditch line.
We invite you to come visit us after this board. It's great.
Well, and again, I think some of this will actually help that a little bit, 'cause like I said, there's kind of a high point that runs through here, and some of this drains this way now, and most of it drains back the other direction. And again, based on the plans that I looked at, I don't think it's gonna impact y'all's properties drainage wise at all.
All right, thank you.
Well, yeah, just a comment, if you've got a high point just to the west of all the houses that border that rectangle, okay, we used to have a little chipping green out there in the middle of that where we hit golf balls, okay? But that's not, there is a hump caused by that, but there is a definite hump between our houses and Buster Poole's driveway.
Yeah, I mean, actually, right through here, there's a ridge.
That's right.
So this drains this way and that drains that way.
And some of it drains toward our houses now.
Right.
Okay.
And most of that that's drained to your houses now will be captured and brought down the property line, so that water shouldn't get cut off and
But you're
not
gonna
go
build
to.
up those lots. You're gonna build those lots up. Means you're gonna have more room.
No, sir. When I was referring to the lot, our intent is to get the lots higher than the road that we're developing. So we may, even though we're cutting that area down, we'll build the lots up to drain to the roads. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a motion to recommend approval to the council?
Motion for approval?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. Nguyen. Any comments or questions from anyone on the commission? Please call the roll.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Tate,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Recuse.
Hawk,
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Recommend to the council. And same as last time, anyone that wants to leave now, and if you have a conversation, I'm gonna ask that you take it to the hallway. Okay. Nathan, can you take them to the hallway, please? We still got a lot to go. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a lovely day.
Okay.
The consent agenda now.
Oh, I forgot where we were.
We've made it move forward.
Okay, the next part of the agenda is the consent agenda. This is the part of the agenda that the planning commission has final decision on and does not require public hearing. These items are read together and voted on as a group. Today we have these type requests: certificates to subdivide. This is a one-step process to subdivide no more than 3 lots or to consolidate lots. A survey is required. Site plans, this is proposed developments on a collector street or above. Plans show building placement, parking, circulation, landscaping, etc. If you wish to comment on the consent agenda, you may do so after all items have been read, and it's the same. Come forward, state your name, and limit it to 3 minutes, please. Okay.
All right. Certificate 357022. It is 7.07 acres, currently zoned B2 General Business. Applicant is Pewright McAnally for Helm Associates LLC. Location is 3827 and 3831 Highway 31 South. The request: change lot line between 2 parcels totaling 7.07 acres to create 2 parcels of 3.66 and 3.41 acres. Proposed land use is a car dealership. One Decatur future land use is Flex Employment Center, and One Decatur street typology, Highway 31 South, is a principal arterial. Conditions to be met: 1, recording fees; 2, locate gas service along Unit 1 and dedicate a 5-foot easement if gas line encroaches onto property. And a point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Now, let me interrupt you just a minute to state that Mr. Culpepper is back in with us now.
The next item, certificate 357122, is 0.62 acres, currently zoned B5 Central Business District. Applicant is GMC for Alabama Community College System. The location is 110 Johnston Street Southeast. The request is to consolidate 2 parcels of 0.27 and 0.35 acres into 1 parcel of 0.62 acres. Proposed land use is the ACA dormitories. The One Decatur future land use is urban core downtown, and the One Decatur street typology, Johnston Street Southeast, is a local street. Conditions to be met: 1, recording fees, and 2, copies of deeds showing common ownership. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. The next item, certificate 357222, is 0.92 acres, currently zoned R6 single-family semi-attached. The applicant is Pewright McAnally for Justin Roberts. The location, 2847 Hempstead Avenue Southwest. Request is to subdivide 1 parcel of 0.92 acres into 2 parcels of 0.5 and 0.42 acres. Proposed land use is single-family residential. One Decatur future land use is residential medium-high density. And One Decatur street typology, Hempstead Avenue Southwest, is a local street. Conditions to be met: 1, signed sealed survey with 3 state plane coordinates; 2, signed owner letter; and 3, recording fees. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. The next one is site plan 63122. It is 3.66 acres, currently zoned B2 general business. The applicant is Pewright McAnally for Helm Associates LLC. The location is 3831 Highway 31 South. The request is site plan approval. Proposed land use is commercial car dealership. The One Decatur future land use is Flex Employment Center, and the One Decatur street typology, Highway 31 South, is a principal arterial. Conditions to be met: 1, landscaping plan; 2, lighting plan; 3, signed ALDOT affidavit; 4, show proposed building square footage; 5, parking calculation needed; and 6, per engineering approval. Point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. Site plan 63222 is 0.35 acres, currently zoned B5 Central Business District. Applicant is GMC for Alabama Community College System. The location is 110 Johnston Street Southeast. The request is site plan approval, and the proposed land use is institutional dormitory. One Decatur future land use is urban core downtown, and One Decatur street typology, Johnston Street Southeast, is a local street. Conditions to be met: 1, approval of certificate 357122; 2, per engineering approval; and 3, DU will need an electric easement for the transformer, and they will send a sketch of what is needed to the developer. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. Site plan 63322 is 0.91 acres, currently zoned M1 light industry. Applicant is Pewright McAnally for River City Development LLC. Location is 2127 6th Avenue Southeast. The request is approve a site plan. The proposed land use is commercial. One Decatur future land use is community commercial. One Decatur street typology, 6th Avenue Southeast, is a principal arterial. Conditions to be met: parking calculation needed; 2, signed ALDOT affidavit; 3, DU will need 5-foot easements along 6th Avenue Southeast and Knight Street Southeast; and 4, per engineering approval. And point of information on this, 1, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. 2, certificate of occupancy will be held until frontage landscaping is installed. And 3, the development will need to meet DU's grease interceptor requirements. The next is Site Plan 63422. It is 1.18 acres, currently zoned M1 Light Manufacturing. Applicant is Plat McAnally for Jerry L. Smith and Associates. Location is 3339 Central Avenue Southwest. The request is to approve commercial site plan. Proposed land use is a warehouse. The 1 Decatur future land use is Flex Employment Center. And the 1 Decatur street typology, Central Avenue Southwest, is a minor arterial. Conditions to be met, 1, per engineering approval. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. Next is Site Plan 63522. It is 2.8 acres, currently zoned M2 General Industry. The applicant is Morrell for Tractor and Equipment. The location is 800 Church Street Northeast. The request is site plan approval. The proposed land use is industrial. The 1 Decatur future land use is urban edge mixed use. And 1 Decatur street typology, Church Street Northeast, is a minor arterial. Conditions to be met, 1, per engineering approval. 2, show easement for sewer mains on the plans. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. Site Plan 63622 is 0.48 acres, currently zoned B5 Central Business District. Applicant is Plat McAnally for Nowland Development Company, LLC. Location is 121 Moulton Street East. The request is commercial site plan approval. Proposed land use is a hotel. 1 Decatur future land use is urban core downtown, and 1 Decatur street typology, Moulton Street East, is a principal arterial. Conditions to be met, recording of certificate 356421, 2, per engineering approval, and 3, per DU approval. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Okay, anyone from the public wish to comment on any of these requests? If not, do we have a motion to approve all requests?
Motion for approval?
We have a motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mrs. Tate. Any questions or comments from anyone on the commission? Please call the roll.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Tate,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Okay, that's 6-0, all approved. Okay, we have one item in other business that will be voted on individual. This is a vacation. This is when the city is asked to vacate public right-of-way or an easement. If you'd read that request, please.
Vacation 54122 is 0.028 acres, currently zoned R6 single-family semi-attached townhomes. Applicant is Plat McAnally for Justin Roberts Construction. Location is 2813 Hempstead Avenue Southwest. The request is to vacate 0.28 acres of DUT and ingress-egress easement. Proposed land use is residential. 1 Decatur future land use is residential medium-high density. And 1 Decatur street typology, Hempstead Avenue Southwest, is a local street. Conditions to be met, signed vacation package, and point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Okay, does anyone from the public wish to make a comment on this request? Not, do we have a motion to recommend to the council to grant this vacation?
Motion for approval?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mrs. Tate. Any questions or comments from anyone on the commission? Please call the roll.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Tate,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Burrows,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Okay, that's approved 6-0. There being no further business, we are adjourned.